SoCal Filipinos in partnership with Mix and Philam Creative presents a FilipinX Short Film Week panel featuring Roslyn Alba Covarrubias, Mix Global Production Head, Ronnie Canicio, Executive Director of Philam Creative, Charles Gray, Writer-Director of Following Jamie, Sheila Tejada, Writer-Actor of Did You Say No, Drama del Rosario, Director-Producer of In the Family, Alex Westfall, Writer-Director of The Rose of Manila. Hosted and moderated by Marlino Bitanga, Mix Head Officer in Charge. Now, please welcome SoCal Filipinos founder, Jason Lustina.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this special event. We're excited to have all of you for as we talk with a panel for FilipinX Short Film Week in partnership with Mix and Philam Creative. I have the honor to introduce you to our host and moderator, OIC and Head of Operations for Mix, Marlino Batinga. Hey, Marlino, welcome back to SoCal Filipinos.
What's up, Jason? I feel like it's been such a long time since you and I hung out, like what, a week and a half ago?
Just a week ago, where we were celebrating the graduates, and now we're going to be celebrating the filmmakers.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for including me, and I'm really looking forward to the conversations we're going to have today. It's going to be exciting.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
All right, everyone. So I want to welcome everybody here tonight for our FilipinX Short Film Week presented by Philam Creative and Mix. And today we got some amazing people that I want to introduce you to. So let's go ahead and bring on the panelists. I want to start with Roslyn. She is my partner here at Mix. She is a global head production. And so, hi, Roz. How are you this afternoon? See, it's been such a long day already.
Good to see you, Marlino.
You too. All right, let's bring on Ronnie Canicio. She is the Executive Director of Philam Creative. Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
Hello. I am fantastic now that I'm here with you guys.
How's the weather in LA?
Oh, sunny.
There you go. Let's go ahead and bring on Charles Gray. He is the writer and director of Following Jamie.
Hello. How's it
What's
going?
up, Charles?
What's going on?
And you may have seen him in all the commercials that we've been running. So Charles is that guy. My next guest is Alex Westfall. She is also the writer and director of The Rose of Manila. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Marlino. Thank you.
Let's bring on Sheila Tejada. She is a writer and actor of Did You Say No?
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
And my last guest is Drama del Rosario. He is the director and producer of In the Family. What's up, Drama? You're on mute.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Am I unmuted now? Hi.
Yes. All right. So I'm glad you guys are here. You guys have some amazing work, and we're so excited to be featuring it on Mix. So I want to jump in really quickly. Let's talk with Ronnie really quick. Tell us about Philam Creative. I actually have known about this organization for a while. I've known a lot of people in there. I've actually wanted to come out to LA, but it's always been like a weird hassle to kind of get out there with, this thing called traffic coming from San Diego. So tell us a little bit more about Philam Creative and what you feel is the most important about this group.
Well, Philam Creative is, to give you the formal mission statement, we educate and we advocate for Filipino and Filipino-American entertainers and creatives in the community. And we just provide like a workspace in order for everyone to achieve greater representation and career advancement. But what that really means is that we are all creatives and we love getting together and connecting people. Because if you ever tried to be in the entertainment industry, you know how hard it is to get your foot in the door. And with that kababayan spirit that the Filipino and the Philam people can host, come on through. We got writers, we got directors, we got producers. We just got people to help mentor you. So if you're interested, philamcreative.org. And that's pretty much what we do. We put on lots of events, and it's been all virtual since then, since something happened most of 2020. But now we're starting to get back into things. So keep an eye out. We're coming for you.
Now, how long have you been ED for Philam Creative?
Well, my term started in 2020. I actually took over. I was the vice president during the ED reign of a certain someone, Mr. Charles Gray here. He was the president and I was the vice president. And let's see. So ED since 2020, vice president before then, and before then just volunteering. So anybody can come through and be a part of the family.
And one last question for you. What do you love most about being part of this group?
I just love how welcome and open that the whole community makes you feel. Being in entertainment can be sometimes really intimidating, especially if you're in these intersections of just like being AAPI, being a person of color, being a woman of color, being LGBTQIA of color, et cetera, et cetera. But to find other people who understand you mentally, what you're going through, community wise, the stuff you deal with, it really is refreshing, and it gives a lot of validity to your voice and to your stories.
Amazing. Thank you, Ronnie. Looking forward to seeing more of what you're doing, your leadership, and being part of FilipinX Creative. And so let's go ahead and bridge this with Mix and how all of this connects. So let's bring on Roz just to talk about a little bit more of how the FilipinX Short Film Week happened, how that connection started, and just give more detail why this is very important to bridge the gap between FilipinX Creative and Mix.
Yeah, sure. For anybody that doesn't know, Mix is the beat of our culture. We are the biggest global entertainment media platform showcasing young Filipino music, film, shows, and events to a global multicultural audience. You can find our cable TV network in over 20 million homes on DirecTV, Spectrum, Sky Cable in the Philippines, while also watching our stories, our music, uniquely Filipino, on our website, where we have millions of people visiting every month on Mix.global, our live TV network there, as well as our Mix radio station on Dash Radio. So how this came about, Marlena, we both work for ABS-CBN, which is actually the owners of Mix, as well as you guys might know the Filipino channel, or TFC. And while that platform is great, and a lot of our parents and our grandparents spend a lot of time watching that, we felt there was a need for this next generation to have its own platform. Mix isn't something that's new. It's been around for over 20 years in the Philippines as the #1 music channel, the MTV of the Philippines, but focused primarily on music. And a lot of the movies that we got, a lot of the shows that we got were exported content from Manila or the Philippines. But as you know, and a lot of the panelists here today, growing up Filipino American, Filipino Canadian, Filipino Australian, whatever it is, we have a different point of view and different stories to tell. And so since then, Marlena and I merged all of the networks together to create one global platform. So the voice of the young Filipino creator can be heard, not just by other Filipinos, but by no matter what color you are, no matter what country you live in. You don't have to speak Tagalog to watch our network. So that was really, the premise of why we relaunched Mix in this way. And the idea came about specifically for this Filmmakers Week is because then we started to look for content, and we wanted the best of the best content. So of course, we reached out to Charles Gray, we in the FilipinX Creative team, because there's nobody that knows FilipinX Creatives like they do. And they curated just over 56 films that really have different stories ranging from culture to sexuality. Just to finally see like our voices in one place on television is remarkable. And that's just basically how it came together. It's just the start, and then teaming up with Jason and SoCal Filipinos to bring this to life, digitally to that huge community. We can't wait to spark this around the world so people can feel heard, they can feel seen. And also, we can share our similarities alongside our differences during this, climactic time of Asian hate that we can, with visibility leads to credibility. So thank you guys for being here, but thank you for supporting Mix. And it's really, it's for us. We joke that it's the BET for Filipinos, but we want it to be the Mix for Filipinos and all the creators out there. So thank you.
So as you were looking at all the films that were coming through, what was your first impression, or what kind of feeling did you get seeing the art from all these different film creators?
Well, I grew up, we didn't have a lot growing up. We had MTV, we had BET. So I really love BET, MTV Raps, and, all of the movies. We grew up watching Friday and Boys in the Hood and Brown Sugar, right? But when I watched these one by one and in a sequential order, it just felt so good. It felt great to be seen and to be heard. And I just said it a few minutes ago, but had I had this in high school or college, it would have been really monumental in choosing whatever career myself or my friends wanted to go into. And I'm just glad that this is the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to be doing this, more consistently throughout the year to become this platform for to develop an audience, not just here in the States, but in the Philippines, around the world.
Yeah. And since you lead a lot of our content, I mean, this is a good transition to ask, like, what is the vision that you do see? Because this is technically like, one of our first ones. I don't want to call it a stepping stone. I think it's really a way to pave what's coming up next. What do you see as far as, this being that platform to do that?
I think, it's going to lead to a lot of Filipinos feeling the confidence to step into their own, for us to be unapologetic, to us to be uniquely Filipino, not just hide in the background, working behind the scenes, but actually tell our stories, but in a way that people can understand our culture, understand we're a fusion culture ourselves. We're a mix of Black, Asian, Latino ourselves. So we're really relatable, and we're going to step into our own. People are going to be ordering lumpia when they order sushi and ramen and tacos, and we're just going to know that we really created our own culture, and it's okay for people to be fans of it. In the same time that we really respect Latin culture and Black culture for what they provide, Filipinos also provide a unique perspective, especially into the fusion cultures.
Very exciting. I'm excited to be on this journey with you. So, woo-woo, let's keep going.
Thank you, Marlena, leading the charge.
All right, you guys. So for everyone in the chat, let's just do a couple things. If you have a question, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Go ahead and also drop where you are watching from, so we know who is in the house. And let's go ahead and start to interrogate our special guest tonight. So first question for all of you guys. You guys ready? How did you all start making films? Briefly talk about that moment when you realized, boom, I need to start creating some stuff. Was there like a particular event, a moment? Give us a little bit of how that started for you. So let's go like in this clockwise version. Drama, let's start with you.
Oh my God, me first. Hi, first of all, hi everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Drama Del Rosario, the director and producer of In This Family, which is a personal documentary about my own coming out story. How I got started in filmmaking. Oh my God. Okay, so this is kind of like intense, but I will, walk you through it. I've always been fascinated with nonfiction ever since I was a kid. I wasn't really like a National Geographic Animal Planet type of kid. I was more of like a reality show, like America's Next Top Model, Jersey Shore, Kardashians kind of kid. So I was really fascinated with all of those like nonfiction real characters that existed in real life. But really the moment when I really started to take documentary filmmaking seriously was in junior year of high school. I grew up in the Philippines in a Jesuit school for 16 years of my life. 16 years of my life, or 12? 16. For 16 years of my life, Jesuit school in the Philippines. And when I was in junior year of high school, we had to make a class project to make a documentary. And this was around 2009, 2010. And if you recall, at that time, the hot topic in the Philippines was the reproductive health bill. So this was, contraception, abortion, sexual health, sexual education, all of that, which is so controversial for a Catholic country like the Philippines. And so our group decided that we wanted that to be the topic of our documentary for this class project. And at first, we wanted to make an explainer kind of educational documentary breaking down the technicalities of this reproductive health bill. But as we were trying to interview our teachers for this documentary, we kind of ran into a wall because the high school, as a Jesuit institution, was so against the reproductive health bill, but the individual the teachers, the individual persons themselves, the employees themselves were for the reproductive health bill, but could not speak up about this because it would jeopardize their employment. And so, what started as this educational explainer documentary about the reproductive health bill turned into this expose documentary about how this Jesuit institution is silencing their employees. The documentary won first place in our school, and which we were really happy about. And then there was this inter-school competition where, the best documentaries from different high schools would compete against each other. And my school decided to submit the second placer instead of us, the first placer, because our film was too controversial. And so that's really when I realized that wow, I'm being censored for something that is clearly good and clearly something that needs to be talked about. And I fell in love with, the power of breaking down and probing the culture that I grew up in, growing up, as a as a queer Filipino in a very conservative Catholic Jesuit school. I really fell in love with questioning the kind of people around me and the kind of environment that I grew up with. And I was really able to do that in the art of documentary film. And I feel like I was also able to do that in my film, in this family. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got started with documentary filmmaking.
Amazing. Thank you. Charles, you're next.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it all kind of goes back to just like my family. My dad is a director, and so just seeing him do it, I think, was really it. I remember after seeing him in the Philippines directing on a TV show, I never seen him do it before. It kind of just was like a light bulb moment for me. Like, oh my gosh, like why? I was like, because I have 3 brothers, and like none of us have like thought to maybe follow our dad's footsteps because that's how he grew up as a director. So I came back to LA. I saw this, I was in bed. I saw this commercial for the Art Institute Film School in Orange County. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a sign. So like but I went to film school, not even knowing if this is what I want to do. It wasn't until I made this my first short film. And I remember like this moment where like I was editing it. And then I put, you know how like when it says the end, and then you put like a song that plays for the credits. I put like the beat landed on the word the end, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I made something. Like it was like this thing. I was like, I never want to do anything else. Like I feel like I mean, it's still sitting in my hard drive. No one's ever seen it, but like I was so proud of that moment. So that's
we're gonna premiere that next one we do, right?
Yes,
I'll go find you a copy.
There you go. It's amazing what you can do when you just actually try to create something and then it just happens. I got stories to tell you about that as well, but we'll do that for another conversation. Alex, how about you?
Yeah, similarly, I love hearing about kind of the intergenerational like history and film from you, Charles. But I love to think that it was in my blood. My dad was he was like a lowly casting assistant on the set of Platoon when they were filming in the Philippines in the 80s. And then that was his like one stint in film, but he ended up like doing a career in urban planning. But I love to like just romanticize that maybe it was in my blood. But I think like film for me, it just kind of was a natural thing. It was a natural decision because I just am so indecisive. And I have a background in photography, but as I kind of went through school, I fell in love with writing. I fell in love with like music and curating, and I fell in love with like collaborating with people. And so film just felt like the natural kind of medium where all of these kind of components could meet. And I also really appreciate just the way that you can play with time in film and really interrogate like history, like imagine futures. I think that's super, super powerful. The like political act of imagination, I think, is something that's really unique to film that you can't really find anywhere else.
Amazing. Thank you, Alex. Sheila, your turn.
I think my first true beginning started being a bored only child for 7 years until I got a sibling 7 years after, and just creating those stories in my head. But officially, I would say in high school, where we had a contemporary media class, I went to a very academic, rigorous high school. It's actually #1 in California, not to brag because I was not the smart ones, but instead of like following the status quo of that high school, I kind of ventured into the arts where everyone else kind of settled in math and sciences. And there I really found my voice and found my calling. And I created some films with my classmates and my also really good friends. And from there, we caught the attention of our professor, our high school teacher of contemporary media, and he really gave us a chance to shine. He would show it off to other people, and it gave us that confidence that we can do this. You know, even though we're high schoolers, we can do this. And that really led the way for my future filmmaking.
Amazing. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank
Ronnie, you want to say something?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched all of you guys' films and I just stopped crying for most of them, except for yours, Charles. Yours was it was like really, really heartwarming for me. No spoilers, just check it out on Mix. You know, like I said, everybody in Film Creative, like we're also creatives too. I'm also a writer and a producer. So when I got to see these films and I saw like the end result, I just want to work backwards, and I wanted to learn more about like what made these people tick. So thank you guys for sharing that. But yeah, just to be able to foster the creativity for whatever walk of life you come into, I think it's like super important. And I'm so excited that you guys get to be on these platforms and everybody can cry with me.
Yeah, yeah. And so all your guys' films, I mean, just to give people context, I mean, Mix is on 20 million homes. Our social network is extremely strong. So I want you guys to give a brief description of your film that is going to be featured on Mix, and tell us, what is it about this film that is the most important to you? Let's go ahead and start with drama again.
Yeah, so my film is called In This Family, which is a personal documentary about my own coming out process when I was outed by a teacher of mine to my parents at a parent-teacher conference in the 7th grade. At that time, this was around like 2007. At that time, my parents would yell at me a lot at home, asking me, are you gay? Are you whatever, all of that. And at a certain point, I just, realized, I had the new iPhone at that time. I slipped the iPhone in my pocket and I thought to myself, why don't I just record them yelling at me just for my own personal purposes? No intention whatsoever of making like some kind of documentary film about this. So I recorded them yelling at me and I kept those files in a hard drive for like years and years. And then when 2017 came, which is when I started making In This Family, I realized like it's been 10 years since I came out since I was outed. I think it's time to unearth these files. And so that's really where In This Family started. I listened to the recordings of my parents yelling at me for being gay. And piece by piece, it grew into this documentary following, my growth as a gay man, but also my parents' growth and my family's growth over the course of 10 years, from being these very religious, homophobic parents to now being the most accepting and the most understanding parents. And I think the biggest takeaway, especially as a Filipino for me, is just, seeing that generations above you are still capable of growth and are still capable of unlearning the things that they grew up with. And I think that's the most important part of In This Family. And I hope people get that from the documentary.
That's amazing. All right, Charles.
Yeah, so my film is called Following Jamie. It's actually playing tonight at 7. I hope everyone after this panel goes to watch 7 o'clock this whole week. Last night was the first night, which was really fun. It was about like culture and identity and stuff. But tonight is about films kind of just like on a global perspective, stories that are maybe not exactly Filipino, but made by Filipino filmmakers. Bridging to my story, a few years back, HBO put out a thing for like Asian Americans for, they have like the HBO Visionaries competition. And so the theme for this year, I think it was 2 years ago, I think 3 years ago now, it was the usage of technology. So when in thinking of it, I wrote this with Caitlin Fay, who's in the movie. We kind of were thinking about that as like the theme, like how do we use technology to tell the story? And me personally, I always wanted to tell, because I love like romance stories, like, my favorite movies are like romance dramas, but I always thought like, like a friendship story. I haven't seen too many friendship stories out there. So I thought if we could combine a friendship story with like technology. So what we came up with was like this use of like one friend is a social media influencer and the other friend is like a non-social media influencer. And that's pretty much the elements that make up the film. So that hence Following Jamie. I think for me, it has some personal connections and it was really just an organic way of making it come to life. And I'm really proud of it.
So make sure you guys watch Following Jamie tonight at 7 p.m. on Mix. Just go to mix.global/live TV. So that's a quick plug there. Thank you, Charles. All right, Alex, you're up next.
Sure. So my film is called The Rose of Manila, and it sort of takes this real life story that happened in the 1950s when Imelda Marcos was just a teenager, a young woman in her early 20s. and she competes in the Miss Manila beauty pageant. And this happened like a month before she met Ferdinand Marcos, which I found really interesting. I actually came across this story in like a book-length interview with Imelda that I found at my college library. And the reason I was really interested in making this film was because there's always sort of been this really strange cosmic entanglement between myself and Imelda, you know, whether I like it or not. In the 80s, my grandfather and my mother's family was actually threatened by the regime. And so that's what caused them to move from the Philippines to Los Angeles. And so and LA is actually where my mom met my dad. And so I always think to myself, you know, if it weren't for this regime, maybe I wouldn't have been alive. And so, you know, obviously the regime was so awful. And I don't want to, you know, use this film to empathize with her in any way, but I always think that, you know, maybe this film is a way to investigate an alternative, you know, future, what might have happened, you know, had this not you know, maybe she didn't had she not met Ferdinand. And I think also, you know, there's so much like parallel that you can see with the way that she treated the pageant crown with the way that she sort of treated the political throne. And so, yeah, I sort of used, you know, I talked about film as a way to think about time and alternative timelines. And I really wanted to, not empathize with her, but really investigate her life from this point when, you know, things could have been different, and really almost even like inject my own personal like worldview into her story.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing, Alex. All right, Sheila, last but not least.
So my film is Did You Say No, which is about a young Filipino-American woman who's triggered by a traumatic experience that happened in her past. And this film is actually loosely based on true events that unfolded in my life. When I was 7 years old, I was touched inappropriately by a babysitter of mine because my parents were busy as nurses. So I often was left with different babysitters. And growing up at 7 years old and approaching my parents about what had happened to me, I was basically come at with questions like, why didn't you say no? As if it was my fault. And it was very cathartic for me to make this film because as a child, I didn't have the dialogue to confront my parents about what had happened to me or defend myself when they would put it on me. Like, why didn't you run away? When you're 7 years old, you don't know what to do. And so I wanted to make this film to give a voice to others who might have either found themselves in a situation and they weren't able to respond appropriately or know the kind of language to basically dissect what had happened to them. And I felt that I didn't know of any ways to cope with it because oftentimes in our culture, I know my parents' generation, they'll sweep a lot of drama or conflict under the rug instead of facing it in the light. And so I felt like this film put it in the light, and also seeing it on film and my parents even viewing it on film, we could talk about it. And a lot of forgiveness took place and a lot of healing took place. And so I hope others find healing as well by watching this film.
Thank you for sharing, Sheila. And I mean, I don't even really know what to say because a lot of the stuff that you guys talked about is some real deep, amazing stuff. So I'm just glad that we were able to be that platform to feature and showcase a lot of your work on there. So I thank you, all of you guys, for sharing that. So I want to open up the floor here really quick. I got a general question I want to ask all of you guys. So, you know, as creatives, we go through our challenges. We go through blocks, you know, thinking of ways to create. You go through a whole bunch of different obstacles. So maybe briefly talk about an obstacle that you overcame as a filmmaker. You know, what does that look like for you? Let's go ahead and start with drama.
Yeah, I make specifically personal documentaries, which are, documentaries that turn the camera on myself and, they break down and assess the kind of traumas that I've personally gone through in life. And so I guess the biggest hurdle that I've ever had to overcome, specifically as a Filipino filmmaker, is accepting the fact that my own story is worth making a film about, and that my own personal experiences as a queer Filipino are valid, period. I grew up in the Philippines, and growing up in the Philippines, you're surrounded by a lot of people who have probably gone through much worse than you. Poverty, war, all of that. And fair enough that they feel that way. But I've also had people, come up to me, look me in the eye and say, whatever you have gone through is nothing compared to what I've gone through. And it becomes this competition of who suffers the most. And so I grew up really, downplaying what I had gone through in my own life and not really taking the time to process the things that I had gone through, being outed by my teacher and all of that, because I grew up in an environment where all of those things were not really relevant and were not really, worthy of being struggles in life.
Yeah.
And so the hardest part for me was really convincing myself that my stories matter. And now that I've made the film, I now know that my own stories matter, and that I've learned lessons from it, and that other people are able to resonate with it. I think that was the hardest thing that I've ever had to overcome, specifically with this film.
Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in?
I'll jump in. I think, first of all, like films like Sheila's and dramas, when we've screened them before, dramas to like a packed house in a theater, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and it really touched people, and I really love the dialogue that came out of it. But one thing, as far as like creativity, like I always find myself like doing jobs not only as executive director, but like in like my other producing jobs and writing. What drama said, it feels like imposter syndrome. And especially as like an AAPI woman, like, or like just like a person of color, you find yourselves in these times where you're like, my story isn't like, nobody cares about this. But one big hurdle is like, you just have to know your boundaries and know and know that, like, you can tell me no all you want, but it's like at the end of the day, if you're saying a story, then I need to say mine too. And I try to like instill it with everybody, but it's hard because you go home and then you just like try to put pen to paper and like nothing comes out. So as far as like the hurdles go, I implore everyone to just like believe in yourself and validate yourself. And I know it's hard because a lot of people tell you no, but it's in there. It's in there, and it's worth it.
All right, Alex, what about you?
Yeah, I was thinking there's so many different hurdles, but I feel like kind of echoing just like truly like believing in yourself. I know it's like something that everyone says all the time, but I think something that I've faced just in general is like just being in this in-between space, like people like a lot of my work doesn't really fit into like a specific box. It's neither narrative nor documentary. It's like not history or fiction. It's like not fine art, but it's not like a blockbuster, and like, I'm also like part white and part Filipino. So I feel like I've gotten a lot of, criticism from people being like, oh, like, are you the right person to be telling this story? But I think, yeah, like you kind of just have to like, really just like believe in yourself, like as cheesy as it sounds, and to also like really find the collaborators and like the people who are gonna believe in you as well. I think that's something that I really had to learn during this process too, to just like lean into the collaboration and like the gifts that people on your team can bring to the production. You can't just make a movie all by yourself. Like there are movies I think that are made by, a person, but they always like everyone always has help. And so I think that was a big challenge that I had to like overcome, and it really just like totally changed the way that I see like production.
And that's tough too, being a creator, right? Like you have control, and then it's like, how do you let go of that control and allow other people to, dip into that? So it takes a lot of trust. So I definitely agree with you on the collaboration part. If you can find that energy to then, spread that collaboration off, then of course it makes everything a lot better for everyone. And I think that's a good transition because, we know collaboration helps, but we also know social media has allowed us to be heard. It's amplified our voices. It's allowed us to create and be out there and be seen. And so, when we're talking about growing an audience, whether it's multicultural or even making our audiences bigger, what do you guys think would help our Filipino stories be heard even more? So Charles, let's go with you.
You mean, yeah, I mean, I've something I think I've been hearing a lot too, that people are saying, besides like, believe in yourself, which is truly valid, is like, because we have the technology now, that you can shoot stuff on your phone. So it's like that kind of availability for like the access that we have now with like, it's like really only like $50 to get like an editing program a month. And like, so you can like shoot something on your phone, edit it, and put it out in the world, and then you can like find people like that you'd never even expect to like your film just through the internet. And I think that power, or that like that access is crazy, to think that like we can come up with something one day all by ourselves and then put it out tomorrow, and then people can see it. And I think with knowing that, I think should give, I hope, even with this program, that people can see these films and be like, oh my gosh, like they made this, it's on TV, it's on Mix TV, like maybe I can make something and have it be there. So I think that's really, for me, what I hope people take away from this is like, we can, we're all kind of in this, we're all on even playing field. We all just, come up with ideas and stuff. And it's just the extra push to actually do something, get a team, get some collaborators, and put it out there. So hopefully people are inspired to keep going and keep making more stories, because I think sharing the stories, sharing our perspectives is like really what's truly important. So
I definitely agree. Sheila, what about you?
I think another idea is teaming up with allies, not only within our community, but also outside of our community, and having that united front. Because of course, our kababayan, we're always like so proud of our own community, but if we're able to plug into the other communities and come together, I feel that will give us an even bigger platform where all of us can support one another, not just inclusive in our community.
So let's take it a step further. How do you do that? Like, in your experience, what have you done to, engage, being inclusive to allow other cultures in?
For me, myself, just networking within my own community as well as outside, and forming those bonds. Just networking, widening that net.
All right, amazing. All right, so for everybody who's tuning in and watching right now, we're going to do a little bit of questions at the end of this. So go ahead, if you have a question, drop it in the chat, and we'll refer to it at the end of our interview, end of our panel today. But here, I got a fun question for you guys. So if I were to give you a brand new iPhone, I gave you $500, what are you shooting? And it has to be done by next Friday. Ronnie, I'm going to start with you, since you made that like, oh, dang.
Oh, dang. First of all, I'll be like, thank you. My phone needs to be replaced so bad. I'd probably, to be totally honest, I'd probably follow Charles around and shoot like a day in the life of him. Not just because we're kind of sort of friends. Just kidding. We're pretty close. But because I think one thing that I've really been like interested in, and I think a lot of people in the community would be interested in, like, what does a day in the life of like a working creative look like? Like, do you have to do your day job at the restaurant? Do you got to take care of your kids at night? What does the grind look like? So I would really love to follow around, like all of you guys, just to see like what your lives look like, and also to destigmatize like people in the industry who have day jobs, because sometimes they gotta. Right. Like, we got nurses making documentaries. We've got, the person stocking food at Whole Foods making an animated film. So I would follow Charles around, and then I would just show everybody what a day in his life is and how cool he may or may not be. So, and I'd have to have you look at it drama, because, documentary royalty over here.
Not cool.
All right, so let's shoot it over to drama. What are you shooting?
If I had like my own phone and just like a couple days to shoot whatever I want, I would just shoot and take photos and videos of everything that I eat, everything that I cook at home. I'm just super basic, but I love food. I started recently learning how to make my own longanisa, which is a really interesting process. Let's see. Do you see that?
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so I recently started learning how to make my own longanisa, and I feel like that would be like I would just shoot all of the Filipino food that I cook at home and all the different kinds of longanisa. There's like a million kinds of longanisa, you guys, and I will shoot every single one of them and shoot the how-to cooking tutorial of every single one of those.
All right, so here's the money question. What are you titling it?
Oh my God, I love sausages. There you go. That's the title of my thing, whatever.
Oh man. All right. Alex, let's go to you before this gets way out into left field.
I would probably call my grandmother in Manila and record the entire thing with her permission. And I would love to just ask her like what her teenagehood was like back in like the 40s and 50s, and just learn from her. I don't know what the visuals would be, but I think like that audio would be like really good material to work from.
That's pretty cool. All right, Sheila, down to you.
I've been talking to Charles about making a Mr. Bean inspired romance comedy. So maybe we'll finally get to do that because we love Mr. Bean. And just like seeing an unlikely hero be at the forefront of a romance is really cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, Charles, you're up to plate.
I would take the $500, give it to Drama to buy some longanisa, have Ronnie, Sheila, and Alex come over and film this dinner party with longanisa and with Marlino and Roz. And yeah, that it'd be, I don't know, Filipino dinner.
That's like a mukbang, right?
Yeah.
All right, you guys. So, I know you guys know a lot of people, especially being in this industry. You've gotten a lot of advice. What would you say is one of the best advice you've ever received from either a mentor or, someone who just, filled into you and just wanted to give you some inspiration? Let's start with you, Alex.
I feel like this might be controversial, but I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, like always take every meeting, like take as many meetings as you can. But I think like, sometimes that's not, I don't know, sometimes like it doesn't work out, or maybe like maybe you're just not you're not on the same page, or, maybe people are asking you for work, like for representation's sake. And I think just really, when you're faced with opportunities, to really make sure that like you're like on the same page, and that like you're also getting, like you're both getting something out of it, and it's not just like a one-sided thing. I think that's something that I found really important. I think to like learn to say no to things is really, really good, because it just means that you have like a higher chance of just like making genuine connections with people, as opposed to just like shooting your shot and trying to meet as many people as you can just for the sake of meeting people.
All right, Sheila, what about you?
I know film school teachers often say the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I believe in that, because oftentimes as a person of the AAPI community, we feel we have to do more than others in the mainstream. We have to be extra so we stand out. But if you keep it simple and just share your authentic voice, you're already going to be original. So just keep it simple, but authentic to you.
I like that. All right, Drama, what about you?
I actually really like what Alex said. As Filipinos, we tend to be such people pleasers and we say yes to everything, but saying no is just as important, because, well, first of all, rest is important, and having your own personal downtime is, for me as an artist, is how I get inspired. But also, aside from that, I think it's super, super important to really pay attention to your narrative and your story. I feel like a lot of, especially me as a first time filmmaker years ago, I was so obsessed with like aesthetics and like take this fancy camera and this fancy shot and this color grading and whatever. And all of that will come in time. What you really need to pay attention to is the story, the narrative. Give your audience a roller coaster of emotions. Make us love your characters, make us hate your characters, make your different characters interact with one another. And I think that's really the most important part of filmmaking, which is essentially telling a good story.
All right, Ronnie, on to you.
Oh, wow. I get a lot of I have tell another Charles story. Okay, like there was this one time I was on an email thread with someone from NBC, and I forgot to like CC somebody or do so. I just responded to like myself essentially, and I freaked out because all of a sudden I was like thinking like I don't belong here, and it's like I can't even like reply to an email. Like, what's gonna make me think I'm be like no? He was just like messaging me, and he was like, "It's gonna be okay. I made all those mistakes before. Just pay attention and slow down, and really like what everyone's been saying. Like, we tend to be like people pleasers, and sometimes that happens. Like, you just kind of glaze over and you just say yes to whatever. But to really know how much you can take in and to really genuinely listen and to say no if you really have to. So just know that you belong, but know that you can always cut out whenever you want. Thanks, Charles.
And Charles, on to you.
That's actually funny. My answer was going to be something Ronnie actually gave me advice to recently, because like I feel like it's so weird that it's almost the same as everyone else's, but you know, the fact that like I think recently you said burnout is real, and the fact like just the whole like, so it's like it's the advice from like non-film advice, meaning like it's not about like something about the film thing. It's just about like, yeah, taking the rest, because it's so important. And I follow like these like Instagrams, these like inspirational Instagram pages, and there was one that said that like you should work like in a pulse where like it's not like a straight line where it's like you know the rest is just as equal as like the when you're actually at work. So like that like pulse back and forth. So yeah, taking the rest just as important as doing the work.
Amazing advice, you guys. All right, so we're down to looks like 4 more minutes left before we open up the floor to questions from the audience. So let's do a lightning round of questions. So these are just 1-word answer questions. Okay, so I'll read the question. I'll read the question. Just give 1 word to answer this question. Okay, so first one is, what was the most important lesson that you learned that had a positive effect on your film? This is kind of tough. So just shoot at the answer whenever you're ready.
Collaboration.
Forgiveness for me.
Truth.
Mistakes.
Go, Ronnie. Go, Ronnie.
Communication. Not that I made a film, but when you make films, communication.
All right. What makes a great film for you? 1 word.
Story.
Story, same.
Heart.
Crying.
Feeling.
I'm surprised none of you guys said any food. Okay. What film, and this could be a sentence, obviously, but what film has been the most inspiring or influential to you?
Moana.
Life is beautiful.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Uncle Boonmi, Who Can Recall His Past Lives. It's a Thai film.
Nice. All right. Since we're all foodies here, favorite Filipino food, and it can't be adobo or pancit or lumpia.
Lisa.
Turon.
Got it.
Corned beef, egg, and rice.
I thought you were going to say corned beef pandesal. We were going to be BFFs here.
That too. A close second.
Wait, what's the black blood meat?
Dinagon.
Dinagon. That's fine.
It's
Wow.
chocolate, Charles. Chocolate.
Chocolate. Well, again, I appreciate all you guys. I hope that was fun for you. Don't forget, the FilipinX Short Film Week happens all this week. It starts at 7 p.m. tonight. So that's in about an hour and 20 minutes from now. So make sure you tune in, mix.global/live TV. So let's jump into questions from the audience here. We're going to start with, we'll start with Ross's question right here. For drama, what did your parents think of the film, and did you have to get their permission to air the recordings? I can just imagine that already.
Actually, I did something very illegal and not ask for their permission first because I knew that my parents would never sue me for making this film. But obviously, like as I made the film eventually and released the film, of course, I asked for their permission. And what they thought about it, I remember. So for my dad, I remember like when I was posting like the trailer on Facebook and on social media and all of that, and the trailer included like clips of my dad yelling at me as a kid. I had to, tell my dad, the trailer is going to make you look like a horrible father and it's going to paint you as this homophobic person. But when people actually watch this film, they're going to realize and see the growth in you as a parent. And I'm glad that has been the reception from people who have watched the film. My mom is just very narcissistic. She was just happy to see herself in the film. So that was her reaction. Yeah.
I can't even imagine just even asking that question. I mean, I can even barely ask them if, do you want a Facebook account? I mean, or, why are you following me on Facebook? I couldn't even, have that conversation with them. But okay, next question. Go ahead, Jason, let's put this up. Okay, this is, if you were to create a movie title based off your life, what would it be? So any of you guys can answer, just jump right in.
Well, I kind of already did. So you guys can answer that question.
Go ahead, Sheila.
All right, I guess me. I guess I've been a huge fan of Sean Cuneta ever since I was a little girl, and her nickname was Megastar, and my first AIM screen name was Megastar. And, being an actress, and what does that mean? What does fame mean? Is that really what I'm after? What does success mean? It's not necessarily fame. And so maybe exploring that would be kind of cool.
Who would be your lead actress or actor?
If it's my movie, of course, me. Hello.
Okay. I just making sure. All right. Anyone else want to jump in on this one?
I'm a big old school Simpsons nerd, so I was thinking like maybe a quote from The Simpsons. So mine would either be like young, rich, and full of sugar, the Ronnie Canyeso story.
Nice. I want to be a key grip on that one. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not even. We can just kick it.
There you go. I'll bring the food. All right. Last call. Who wants to jump in?
I think mine would be just like random keys on the keyboard, just like something that no one's able to pronounce because that's just my inner state of mind. It's something that's just like not being able to be encapsulated into words.
Nice. All right, for this next question, I want you guys to put your casting hats on. If you can choose any actor, actress for a future film, who would it be and why? Charles.
If they could choose an actor and actress for a feature film, I have, ever since I've seen Yellow Rose and I saw Ava Noblezida, I was like, I would love to work with her. She was so amazing. I was like crying watching her perform, and she'd be my choice.
I want all of us just to hang out with her. I would be very intimidated just to hang out with her because she's kind of, she looks very innocent on the front, but she's wild and crazy. If you like, her personality is fun. So I don't know if I can hang. I'm already old.
Yeah. I saw her on Law and Order too. She was on Law and Order. She did a whole episode on Law and Order SVU. I was so excited. I wanted to tell everyone.
All right, so let's manifest it. We're gonna do a a boodle fight with Eva Nobleza. So we'll make that happen.
Shout out Dan Pragus for that.
All right, who else? Drama.
I have an answer. I'm gonna kind of alter the question since I do nonfiction. If there's a famous person that I really want to do a documentary on right now, like full on want to manifest this, I want to do a documentary on Olivia Rodrigo. I love her. She's so fascinating to me as a young Filipino pop star. And I feel like just following her growth and her evolution over the next coming like years, as because she's just like huge right now and she's going to evolve over the coming years. And it would just be so honored to be able to follow that in documentary form. Yeah. And also musical documentaries make a lot of money. So.
All right. Last one. Who wants this one? Looks like Alex. She's smiling.
Well, I was also gonna say Olivia Rodrigo, but I think it would be cool to see her in a fiction as well. Like, since she was playing, I mean, High School Musical was a huge, huge part of my growing up, and so it was cool to see that she like played a role in that. But it would be awesome to see her like grown up, maybe like 10 years in the future or something.
Nice. All right, I think we got time for maybe one or two more questions. Go ahead, Jason, if we have a question to pop in there. Okay, so this is for Alex. Did anyone from Imelda's family or team see the film, and what were their thoughts?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to this question. So I hope someone has seen it. I think that would be amazing. But I did, I guess one connection that I did make in the production was my thesis advisor. This was my undergraduate thesis. He actually connected me with the filmmaker Ramona Diaz, who made the documentary about Imelda back in 2001, which was like quote unquote banned in the Philippines by her, which I think is absolutely hilarious and so like telling of her personality. And actually the first shot in the film is from Imelda, and Ramona is just an amazing person, and so it was really cool to just like get to meet her and like talk with her about film.
Okay, cool. We got a little bit more extended time, so we'll do 2 to 3 more questions. Go ahead, Jason. Let's throw up another question up here. This is for you, Charles. How difficult was it to mix mediums and use social media as a way to tell your story?
No, it was very difficult actually, because I don't know if anyone doesn't know, half of my film is like shot on a cell phone. It was like the whole idea was because of the character's social media influencer. So but the first initial thought was I'm going to shoot this whole thing on an iPhone and do it like it's all through Instagram stories, because this is when like Instagram stories was like huge, and this was before like Reels and TikTok. So, but then that was just so hard because there were just certain scenes that I could not, like, it wouldn't make sense that someone would be filming this scene. So like I had to kind of split it between using a cell phone and using actual, camera.
Nice. All right, next question, Jason. All right, so this is for Sheila. Can you describe your experience being in a very important scene alongside a very good actress like Princess? I was blessed to be in a scene with her at Romel's film. I'm not good at saying Tagalog, so you guys can interpret that. I had to tell myself to stop telling myself that this is a dream come true. Ha ha ha. What was your experience with Princess?
Thank you. First of all, shout out to Randy and Noreen and Steve for watching. Wow, what can I say? She was like a celebrity because she just got off of Yellow Rose. So the fact that we were able to get her because she was hot, like the buzz was all about her in that movie, showed me like what a big heart she had, because when she read the story and what it was about, she had some personal connection to the story and she felt it was an important film to be made. And so, I didn't really grow up watching her stuff, but I knew of her. And so I tried to like just be in the film with her character and not her as a celebrity. When we were in the film, we were just like, oh gosh, she's such a great actress. We were just in it, we were just connecting, and it wasn't about the other stuff. It was just about what was the story and what we were trying to tell in that scene.
And I don't know if this is the same for all of you guys, but when I actually first saw the film, I didn't see it in theaters, but I did see it like, post being in the theaters. I actually got emotional and I shed like, a couple tears watching it, not because of the story, but more because it was just, for as long as I've known being in this industry or just even being in Filipino culture, just to see a film like this on a big screen, or knowing that it was on a big screen for the world to see, that made me extremely proud to be Filipino at that moment. And it was an amazing, well done film. So I just had to kind of throw that out there. Jason, go ahead. Let's get to, I think it's like 1 or 2 more. All right. So this is for everybody here. What other film position other than actor or director do you think you would be really good at?
I've art directed a few times and did like production, so I'm really good at making weird props. So I think I'd be pretty good at that.
Oh my gosh, I was gonna say I have like a secret love for production design. Like I love production design. I would love to just be a production designer, if anything.
I love producing. I do it every day for work. I'm a very organized person. I love spreadsheets. I love budgets, all of that. So if you need an organized person in your team, I'm the person to call. But also legal stuff. So, I have a master's degree in documentary film, and we had law classes. So I have a substantial background in like copyright law and intellectual property rights and all of that. And I feel equipped to give some advice when it comes to those fronts. My partner works in music publishing, so he has music rights. I can do film rights. So if you need a legal counsel, hit me up.
Yeah, we're gonna call you, Drama. So just keep your phone open. Leave the phone. Oh, okay, never mind. Go ahead, Alex.
I feel like I would be a really good music supervisor because I'm very good at writing very passionate letters asking people for things. And so I feel like if people had a really hard to find song or something, I could like find the person and get their permission to use the tune.
Nice. All right, Sheila, last one.
I'm primarily an actress, but in the course of my career, I had to create my own work to give myself a platform. So producing, definitely.
Well, there you go. Looks like you guys have a new gig. Someone will hire all of you guys. So there you go. All right, we got a couple more questions. Go ahead, Jason. Let's throw them up. So this is from Roz. Sheila, what happens to your lead character after your movie, Did You Say No, ends, where she confronts the abuser? I kind of want to know this answer too, actually.
Thank you so much for that question, because a lot of people have that question. I wanted to leave it open for the audience because in my own experience, I never really got to confront my abuser. And I feel like if we gave an answer of what happened to him, it would kind of make that narrative less relevant to people that might have not experienced that. So we wanted to keep it open because that's kind of what happened to me. I don't know what happened to him. And I also wanted everyone to fill it in with their own healing personally and not put it on the abuser and what's going on with them.
That's a good way to end it. Yeah, because definitely it left me hanging. I was like, oh man, what happened? All right, a couple more, and then I think we'll do a wrap here. So Charles, this is for you. Was Jamie in your film, Following Jamie, based off anyone you've met or knew?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, as far as the character, there's one person who I follow who was kind of just like the inspiration. Her name is Kirsten Lay. She's kind of like a social media influencer herself. I actually really like her stuff. She's like a comedian, and so I kind of base it off of her. So yeah, her and like Linda Dong, I love her stuff too. Like just like that kind of like fun social media influencer type, because I follow social media influencers too. So
all right, let's do one last one. Go ahead, Jason. All right, so for Ronnie, when writing a story, do you feel pressured to always incorporate being Filipino in your story?
That's actually a really awesome, like a really interesting question, because when I was in film school and I would write things, I would always make my character like mixed race, and they would always be men for some reason. In my head, I was just like, I'll get more traction with just a general mixed race person than a man. But these days, that empowerment thing, I'm like, no, let's make this person Filipino. Let's have them specifically eating ube, specifically kamayaning. Just, I think the more Filipino my characters get, the more I'm sitting more comfortably in my culture. So no longer, I never felt pressured, but I'm now pressuring myself. I guess that's the way to answer that.
Yeah. So definitely having that unapologetically Filipino perspective in everything that you do, right? To tell your uniquely Filipino story.
Mm-hmm. We don't need to explain nothing. We can just be.
Just be. All right, you guys. So one last thing before we wrap. I want you guys to manifest your next project. Usually I'll tell you like, what do you want to say to everyone listening, et cetera, et cetera. But, I think everyone does that. So I want you to manifest what is going to happen next in your work. So we'll start clockwise again. So Alex, you can go first.
Yeah. I would love to, like, keeping in the beauty pageant trend. I think they're such fascinating and like really rich, just situations, and also thinking about like white beauty standards and the history of that. I think it would be really cool to do a series or even a feature, or even like an installation that has no like set start time and end time, that kind of focuses on like a fictional beauty pageant. I think they're really rich spaces to investigate.
Really cool. All right, drama.
Yeah, there's one project that I really, really want to do, and I've been thinking about it during COVID, but I can't do it right now because it involves traveling to the Philippines. But basically, without revealing too much, it is kind of a documentary collection, like a short documentary film collection on the different perspectives of different people on one particular story. I'll just leave it at that. I feel like it would be a wonderful exploration on how there are different sides to each story and how each person's perspective will be their own truth. And there are several facts in one story that emerge in another story and don't emerge in another story that will piece together the bigger story as a whole. It's very vague, but that's really one project that I really want to work on if I'm given the chance by this coronavirus to finally travel to the Philippines again.
Amazing. All right, Sheila.
A film that's been on my mind that I wanted to create is one that intersects folklore, kind of like Trece, but also my experience in mourning over my grandmother, because she had ALS and that's what she died of. And when we went to the Philippines, there were these witch doctors saying like the duende had like cursed her, and just how folklore, religion, and just, urban legends intersect to explain things that we don't have answers for. And I want to make that because it's also going to help me deal with my my trauma and how I lost my grandmother, and answer a lot of questions that I had myself.
That sounds like a cool story. Like I can even see that as like an animation or something like that as well.
Kind of like Trece. Yeah.
All right, Charles, what about you?
I just want to say like Filipino actors are so good, but like we're all fighting for representation. I really want to take like an actor who's known for like being like a good guy and like turn him into like a villain, and like really like I want to be responsible for transforming an actor from like what he's known for into like something totally opposite. And like if I could just say a name, I really would love that to be like John Briones. Like if I could make him like a villain, I feel like he'd be an amazing villain. And I'd love to be the guy that like is responsible for making John Briones an amazing villain, where everyone's just like, oh my gosh, what a performance. So
let's go make that happen. All right, Ronnie, what about you?
So right now I'm working on a bunch of short projects, but one particularly is a short film. Working on it with fellow Philam creative Vice President Ia Baclagan. You probably saw her in the comments. Hi, Ia, I love you. I'm writing a short film about the worst first date I've ever been on, and what that means when you're young and Filipino and need to leave the house because everyone's in your business. So I'm hoping that gets made, and I'm hoping that all of the awesome people come out and be like, that's real cool. Here's $1 million. So we'll manifest that.
And what you just made happen is you just made everyone think about their first dates. So it's like, get out of my head, get out of my head.
Or harness it, sit in there, be uncomfortable.
I'm uncomfortable right now. Thanks, Ronnie. I'm just kidding.
You're welcome.
I appreciate all of you guys for being here today, for being a panelist on SoCal Filipinos. Again, it's the FilipinX Short Film Week happening right now on Mix. You can watch it in an hour. Charles, maybe talk about what today's theme is, because we are doing a theme every day for this week all the way till Sunday. So what is on for tonight?
Tonight it's like filmmakers who are Filipino, but the story that they're telling, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Filipino story. So it's more just like the fact that it's like a Filipino behind the scenes. So a lot of this movies tonight don't have even Filipino actors in it, but you could still get a sense of like the storyteller. So that's what tonight's theme is about. And just shout out to everyone else on this panel. Like Drama's theme is on Sunday, and it's like where it's like all documentaries and stuff. Sheila's is the one with all women in the forefront, and then Alex is like the Throwback Thursday one that since it's like a story about the past. So like just the fact that there's like different themes for each night, I think. So yeah.
And can I
And if you
also
guys-
shout you out one more time? Like Charles curated this whole thing and he brought it to us in the Film Creative Leadership. And it was just, it's that order. Like if you can watch it in order, the way he put it together, like guys, it's top notch.
Yeah,
Aw.
big ups to Charles. Definitely did an amazing job in curating all those films. So again, it's tonight. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And so just go to mix.global/live TV. And if you want the full schedule, I believe we have it on our website as well. Just look up FilipinX Short Film Week. And then plus, I'm sure we'll do an article about this whole entire chat that we had today. You'll also find out on mix.global, and we'll also leave the socials for everybody who's on the panel today, so you can follow them. You can catch up on their latest projects, support their films. So make sure you guys do that. Go to mix.global. And once again, thank you to SoCal Filipinos for having us do this here on their platform. So big ups to Jason, and we'll bring him back here in a second. But again, just want to extend a great thank you to all of you guys. Excited to see all your films. I'm excited to see what is happening with the FilipinX community in regards to filmmaking and creative. So definitely exciting. I thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And the audience, again, last but not least, it's for you guys. This is for you. So we're definitely blessed and glad that you guys were here to hear their stories and just be a part of this entire conversation. So big up to everyone tuning in from around the world watching this right now. So Jason, let's get you back in here and let's close us out.
What up, everybody? That was a great panel. Thank you, Marleno. Thank you, everybody who's here. Alex, Drama, Sheila, Ronnie, Charles, and I think Roz. She was here earlier. But again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Watch the videos. They're all amazing. All the films. Please go to Mix. And then stay tuned for future events. We do have our first in-person event at the Field Market in the Manila District this Saturday. So come and support Filipino business. Other than that, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.